Okay, I guess it's 10:30, so we've officially started the session, which means everything that anyone says will be recorded for all of prosperity's sake from here on out. I have to look at my slides because I forget who I am. I'm Dan Nagy, the little lost boy from the Legal Information Institute over at Cornell.
Oh, yeah, I think we're right. Yeah. Thank you.
This is my shtick. I'm going with it. I'm the assistant engineer for the Legal Information Institute out of Cornell's Law School. And today I'm going to tell you a story about wandering through the cloud, the one man's journey, outsourcing some of his infrastructure from the organization's infrastructure out to what has now become the ubiquity of the word cloud.
Okay. See someone in the back.
These days, if you were watching popular media, whatever, everything is out to the cloud. If you have a family that's being unruly for family pictures,
this is a free-form discussion. Just kind of
you can take a picture and then magically go to the cloud where your family is now presentable. If you're bored in the airport, you can now
continue the conversation.
Now go to the cloud and you're instantly entertained for hours and hours in the terminal of JFK.
That's great. Yeah, it's basically just raise your hand, use
now
the button
become the favorite hammer for us to smack everything with. I guess we got tired of the word cyber and we needed a new word.
Validated,
so we came up with the word cloud. Cyber sounded old and cyberpunkish and cloud sounds new.
But also it's the last day. And
so we've started using the word cloud, and it's permeated through the modern society. So now everything, instead of going to the internet, is going to the cloud. And consumer-based stuff is radically different than the solution-based stuff that the system engineers and an organization like ours works with.
That's a nice
thing
about
these. It's become the favorite hammer to smack things with. The unruly family, or for that matter, an infrastructure problem that you're having, or data limits that you're bumped up against. And it seems now that if we just throw the cloud at anything, it solves all of our problems, or does it? And that's what we started using the cloud we started using the cloud and started looking at it around 2008, and then started running our first production stuff out in a cloud in around 2009. It was our topics collection, of legal terms, definitions, things like that. When we say the cloud, what we're talking about particularly is the Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, or EC2. And that's what we're using for our cloud. There's other service providers out there. We chose this one for a couple of reasons. One of the main reasons we chose it is because we gained a partner about that point in time called Justy. And Nick is sitting in the front row. And he was amazingly helpful. They were amazingly generous with their time and their expertise using this Amazon cloud. And we were also, at that point in time, in the market to get away from some of the brick and mortar servers that we had. It was time for us to replace. They were getting up near mean failure, a couple years old, and we were looking to spend. We were going to have to make an investment, one way or the other, in something. And this also came at a crossroads of where we were moving from. We call our flat architecture, which is just HTML.
I'll keep this short so that John doesn't get too much more upset. Well, we're not talking about the students. We're talking about his problems, not the students' problems.
What's the specific software?
The competitors, the market is dominated by Pharos Uniprint. There is a product that I cannot remember the life of me at the moment, the full name of it, but it's from Icon that they're using at Duke, or had been using at Duke for their copy machines, but also supported printing. And if the name comes to me, I'll tell you. But those are the two major competitors that I'm aware of. And I'm sure Xerox would be happy to sell you a solution.
Oh, I'm sure they would too.
Any other topics people had? Yeah.
I've had a really good time with the social game. I've met a lot of great people, but I'm getting desperate. Does anyone know Pamela Glean of North Carolina Central University School of Law? I'm beginning to think that I have someone that doesn't
There are
exist.
other tools that help you.
Oh, she did? Okay, great.
There's something called Ylastic, which automates some of the more arcane things for you, like making snapshots. But
I feel better knowing that she does exist.
The way we use it, we just have the Amazon EC2 with the right scale front end.
I know William Baker of Indianapolis.
So, and I don't want to go into this because, I don't know how many of you are using it. I don't know, and I don't want to restate stuff you already know, but I got to go into a little bit just to lay the groundwork. The mechanics of the EC2 service is you start with something called an image.
Well, I had a question
and
about the
it's
cheese
kind
head.
of
I guess
it's,
you were
a,
worried
it's
it was a
basically
round
a server
front
at rest.
forward. I always thought the
It's a
pointy
piece of
part
data
went
that just
out.
sits there, or chunk of data sits there and does nothing.
That is exactly what
From
Meg
an
said.
instance, and you can liken that image
He
to
did
a
not
bootable
want you to
DVD
mistake him from
with an
Paul
operating
Revere.
system. So
Paul
it's
Revere
not
is
doing
real.
anything. You stick in the drive and turn it on, then it's an operating system. And from an image, you start an instance, and the instance in this case is synonymous with server.
I actually have a question. How many people have the students use mobile devices for access to electronic resources? Like, I don't know, like Hein or anything else. Does anyone do that?
You like actually collect the stats, or even just
offer
image.
it for access.
You boot
and
the
support
instance from the
that.
image. You get about 9 gigs of storage. The caveat to that one, to that type of running instance, is that it's very ephemeral. That initial 9 gigs that
Well,
you have
actually, let's say
is
0.5.
not persistent.
The reason
If
I
you
said
reboot
that is
it,
because
if
we
you terminate it, restart it, the
the
stuff goes away. Any accounts, any new things you've layered or installed on it, because it is your instance, you do with it what you want. When you turn it off, it would then disappear. What you used to have to do is get that instance running,
And so
and
I
then do
think
something called
Encore is
baking
letting
a
us do
snapshot
that.
from it. So you would then take
I
it,
can't testify for sure.
start with an image, make an instance, and then you would take that instance and take it back to an image so that it would be persistent for you. All
I'm
the
from the
changes you
University of
made,
Florida. We don't
you would
like,
have
force
in
them
place
to use
if
it,
you
or we
wanted to
don't
clone it,
really
start another
promote
one.
it, but you
That one
can
croaks,
use
you need to
them
start
on
up another
your-
one. You would just
your
have to use
mobile
that
device.
instance to do it.
We just run it
Now
in
what they have is
regular,
they
you
have
to
something
be
called
on a
EBS,
VPN
which is
in order to
elastic
do
block.
it. So, but I use it with my iPad all the time. I'm running my advanced legal research course from here through the iPad, and was on Hein the other day, and it works just fine on the iPad.
I actually work at a law firm, and the attorneys want to check everything on their Blackberries or on their iPhones, and so it's like kind of frustrating because a lot of times they're like, we have IP authentication for a lot of things, so it's a little bit difficult.
Are you a firm librarian or IT person? Oh, wow. Yeah, I was just going to say, exciting. I didn't think firm librarians came to this. That's very exciting. Yeah.
I'm a librarian.
How'd you hear about the conference?
Where are you from? You don't... Okay. Okay.
How helpful has the conference been for you?
Some of the things that I never thought would have been incredibly useful were useful. Like I went to the session on making ebooks out of your law review articles. Would you think that would be relevant? Not necessarily. However, we do a lot of, at the firm, we do a lot of, the librarians actually do a lot of research. Like we typically they just tell us what they want and we do it. So, so a lot of the times we create like reports on things, and we compile a whole bunch of information from various places and write up things, and everybody wants access to it, like say on their iPad or on their Kindle. Well, the law review article, creating ebooks out of your law review articles, perfect.
Awesome.
Should we get more firm librarians to come here?
And it turned out to be on comparing the old ABA standards to the new ABA standards, so it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. But it's been interesting. It's nice to know what's out there. So it's good, because a lot of these concerns are concerns I've never thought about. But even some of the, like everybody keeps talking about using Dropbox. Well, so many of those things we can't do because of confidentiality, record retention, and discovery issues. We can't do so many of those things. So it's interesting to see what else is out there.
Any other topics? Also, the other thing, how I started the other session, how many people here are librarians? How many are professors? And then how many are IT? I thought you were just going to keep your hand up the whole time, Ken. Oh, okay. So it definitely seems to be a slightly librarian-heavy crowd today, but it was pretty evenly mixed the first time. Yes?
I have a topic to ask about. How do folks get their colleagues, faculty, or more seasoned law librarians or partners at law firms? How do they get people who have been doing something for a long time to adopt new technology or a new way?
I call that the Tom Sullivan Problem. Okay, I have a faculty member that when I first got there 10 years ago, he used WordPerfect 5.1 and would not give it up. Okay, about the only way that I have found you can do that is to find ways to introduce them to it and then step away. The more times you introduce them to it without giving them a feeling of pressure that it's something they have to do, the more likely they are to eventually put their toe in the water. And then once their toe's in the water, then they slide right on in and start swimming. But you have to just give them crumbs to get them to start eating. Okay?
At our school, if the dean adopts something, it spreads like wildfire. So you just got to focus on him.
So how do you approach your dean to get something adopted? Do you stalk, lurk?
It varies. Like for iPads, we actually had 2 professors that were very interested in them, but no one was until one of the professors started showing the dean everything he could do, and all of a sudden the dean went out and bought them, and now we expect many more in the law school.
Any other suggestions to trendsetters, or just make them do it?
Do you try emails? Do you take people, like a group brown bag lunch? Any other ideas?
At Kentucky, we did brown bags a lot. You just kind of, it was more of the faculty kind of trained each other, but every now and then the librarians or IT would get in there and just kind of show some new product or something new we've discovered. But then they would kind of intermix that with their faculty research roundtables. And
we've had not great success with those kinds of approaches. I think anything that involves a gathering of faculty members in the same room, thus admitting to one another that they don't already know about something. One or online for private consumption is better received, I think.
We are going to be trying one new thing this year. We're getting a new director who likes to throw parties. And we are also buying the B-Press IR, which we hope to have samples of by September. And right now they're tossing back and forth the idea of having a wine and cheese reception for the faculty and having the IR profiles that we do as mock-ups up on the board so they can see other professors on there while gathering for alcohol consumption. So we're hoping to have a good turnout for that.
One of the things along those lines that we've found is that sometimes there's a culture within the school that is both individually and collectively self-deprecating among certain groups. Yeah, I'm interested in that new technology you're using, but the rest of my colleagues aren't ready for that. And each of them individually comes to us and says that, or you hear that enough times, and it's a trick of getting beyond that culture of, I'm willing to try the new thing, but I don't think my colleagues are ready for it. And we've had some luck getting through that, but no matter how many times we have successes getting beyond it on an individual piece of technology, there still seems to be that underlying current. And getting beyond it and getting our faculty to recognize that they really are very proficient at picking up new technologies and using them has been an interesting component of what you were asking about. Mm-hmm.
I think so.
I'll talk with you at the break then, if I may.
Yeah. It'd be like the Nixon tapes. There's all of a sudden just a 14-minute gap in the Unconference, and then we resume. Any other topics that we can talk about publicly and be recorded?
I have a topic and it relates to this conference. Is anybody new in here? I recognize most of the faces. We've got a couple new. So how do you guys think we can get people like you, first-time newbies, coming to the conference?
Maybe you should first ask if they're willing to come back next year.
Would you like to come back next year?
I'm hoping that my boss will allow me to come back next year. My perception, having not yet watched the YouTube video of the presentation I did, was that I think we did a pretty good job. I may get back and view it and hide my head in embarrassment. I don't feel that as a member of the IT staff within my school that I was aware of as many things that CALI is doing. I know that my director participates with CALI and is much more aware, but my personal awareness of what CALI does has been really raised by this conference. I attended some sessions where I scribbled down things. I've got to go back and really spend some time on the CALI site. It's a valuable thing. I need to look at it. And I think if my pattern is at all replicated in other schools, getting some of those people beyond your initial contacts at those schools to become aware. I don't interact with the teaching resources that you provide because I'm not interacting with the students in the capacity where they're interacting with those things. So I was aware. CALI is an organization. My boss has gone to the presentations before. Colleague has gone.
Of my stuff. I always kept it very close at hand. I don't consider myself to be a control freak. I just consider myself to be pragmatic. It was the most cost-effective. Most cost-effective way for whatever organization I was attached to do our tech at the time. And then when you finally take it and you put it out in the cloud and you look at it and you admire it and you're like, oh, that is so cool. Holy crap, I can no longer go in the server room and look at the little yellow lights or the little green light, hopefully all green, on all your stuff, it's the horse and buggy show when everything goes down, you get in your car, you ride to the thing, and you kind of lack that control, and succeeding that kind of control is difficult for somebody who, like me, didn't start out that way.
Yeah, I'd like to come back.
But then all of a sudden, you realize that, oh wait, it's new and it's shiny, and that feeling of dread quickly evaporates when somebody's shaking like the shiny bauble
this is
over
Milwaukee.
here.
Nobody was
and then you
too
slowly
excited about
degrade
coming to
into the
Milwaukee,
homelessness
but I
of
think
state of Zen where you're just going,
they lost out.
Cloud.
Vegas was real popular.
I think
I watch a lot of science fiction.
Especially for the IT people, what other professional development
I think I got it right.
It's
from Blade Runner.
Are there other,
and
or do you go to any other conferences, or would you go to any other conferences, or?
I would go to other conferences, but honestly, for time, this is the only one that I go to.
My boss goes to SACS, and any other professional development we get as specific software packages.
What's SACS?
You'd have to ask him. It's a SACS.
Accrediting Association.
Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. They're the regional accrediting body in the.
Did LSAC pull the plug on their SCON? Didn't.
There's another one in March next year.
Okay, so they're gone biennial or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was curious, is everybody on Technoids? Because I was wondering if that is another way to kind of let people know what CALI does in different areas.
What's Tequila?
I use it through my RSS feeder, and I kind of think maybe I should switch to email because I might be a little bit more active on it. So it's kind of one of those, I check it, I have my priority list of feeds. Sorry, it's not my high one. But
Following up on that, John, I've always been curious, is Technoids an official CALI thing, or is it just a listserv that... listserv by Tom Bruce. Okay, so it's Tom Bruce, and is the technoids.net domain his? That's it. Okay. Oh, okay. So if there were problems with searching the archives, we can talk to Elmer. Okay. He called me back once after I sent him this long email about something else, and he just said, "Man, don't worry about this.
What about having a video conference once, twice a year, like in between two CALI sessions, between all the sites, that can bring more people from within each school, introduce them to CALI idea and concept? You can have pretty much 50 or 100 people, or, you know, in your school. I mean, I'm just saying you can have 2 new people in each school come and do an hour, couple hour video conference session. That shouldn't cost much, if anything, for most schools, and it would give a chance to introduce new people, maybe midway between 2 CALI sessions.
Well, in this past year we did a whole bunch of webinars, not too well attended. And it was an attempt to sort of open, to wake up or to provide opportunities for people to talk about technology topics. The problem is this conference isn't about the sessions. This conference is about the breaks. And so in some ways the definition of it is we bring you all together and we feed you, and then every so often we interrupt you to go watch a session. And that's not entirely true. So the virtual versions of this just don't capture the vibe is what I've been told. I'm not saying we're going to stop doing that, but it's a different thing than the conference itself.
I agree that there's a lot of value to the time between the sessions. Go ahead and take some video of some of that mixing that's going on and put it up on YouTube in addition to the sessions. Don't have to get close enough or have a mic going, but demonstrate that a little bit as well.
Let's use life logging next year, right? You hang the little camera and audio around your neck and record everybody's conversations at lunch and break.
Sends automatic tweets when 2 people are within speaking distance of each other. And
that's the software, automatically carves up your conversation with text recognition or voice recognition software into 140 character little bytes and beats. Yeah.
I was about to say, then I can't talk about my boss.
I mean,
they want to retain people as well.
It'll be an anonymous retweeting, like at ALA and AALL.
CaliCon secrets.
Whatever they call it, behind
John, how many session slots were there in the entire conference this time?
50?
No, I mean time slots, like 11 or something like that.
You mean that?
How many? If somebody went to everything, how many things would they have gone to?
50?
No, there's like four time slots a day.
Oh, so
2 this morning.
Right. So
4 on each.
Plenary session, 3 in the afternoon. So there's 5 a day, 5, 10, and then 2 today.
Oh, okay. So for the record, I just want to mention I went to 12. Apart from that, I mean, I agree with what John says about the importance of the between the sessions. But the other thing is there are that many sessions, so it's quite a confluence. How many people do 12 webinars in the space in 1 year? So I mean, it is that, and in that way, there is a certain efficiency to it, a certain motivation.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's concentrated, sure.
To it, because most people probably go to more fill more session slots than they don't, at the very least.
Right. Right. You don't like the session, you can't alt-tab out of it.
Which is kind of interesting now knowing there's only 66 programs at AALL, so there's 50 here, which is pretty comparable for.
I didn't realize it was that close.
Yeah, I didn't either till just now. Yeah.
When I asked someone else, like, what is this CALI conference and like what should I go to? And their recommendations were to take everything that sounds too techy for you. Because I'm a librarian, not an IT person. And so their recommendation was just take that, you'll see what's out there, you'll see what you could do, and you'll know what you'll know what the people want. Like you'll know what, like you might not know something's possible, but as soon as you find out it's possible, then you'll be able to be like connect like the IT side to the patron side and see what they want, and then know it's a possibility. Know you could possibly do it. So, and they were right.
Yeah, I was in the HTML5 session, which I wasn't really planning on going to, but I just thought I should peek in, and because I always thought HTML5 was much harder than it is, but it's actually really neat, and like the things you can do with it. So Megan and I were in there just kind of geeking out. We're like, well, this is.
Yeah, the other thing in addition to going to sessions that are a little too techy is going to sessions that don't seem relevant at all. So I went to the one on the digitization of the Freedom suits, which, you know, that's not my job function. I think it's really cool and that, but I was able actually from that session to grok a little bit more about XML and TEI and some things that they're good to have percolating around in the back, even if I'm not going to be using them anytime soon.
I was just wondering if you don't mind me asking, do you go to SLA or have you gone to SLA? Or?
I've gone to SLA and Internet Librarian in Monterey.
Oh, wow, okay.
That was lovely.
Yeah. I do CIL every now and then, but yeah, I would like to get to IL just because it is in Monterey. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry I came in late, Sarah, but I guess this is a free-form talk. I'm sorry, if y'all have addressed this already, or if there was like a session I missed, or if this has come up in years past, does any school have like a defined set of expected technology skills for faculty? You'll train them, we'll say, well, how to do this, but we'll show you how, but then you're on your own. I'm thinking mainly, we've got 2 faculty who have their secretaries do all their PowerPoints for them, and I'm thinking that should be at least something I think we can expect faculty, if they want to use it, do it themselves and not overburden our poor faculty secretaries. Is that reasonable to expect faculty to do some things like that? Like check email? We had one faculty had their secretary checking her email for a while. And make their flight reservations. I think they cracked down on flight reservations. Yeah, I'm just wondering if other schools have dealt with anything like that or have a skill set that you expect faculty to be able to do for themselves.
The expect kind of makes me nervous, but listen, Ken, what do you?
Brian, I think what you're saying is reasonable is in fact reasonable. On the other hand, I'm not aware in general of any formal policies on stating that we expect our faculty to be reasonable, especially when it comes to technology. I can't testify whether or not any school has such a policy, but I can say that it would shock me to learn that there is a school that does.
Don't they have that for incoming students, like requirements, like certain technological knowledge requirements?
No.
And not for library school either. One of my things I've been ranting about for years is I went to library school with people who did not know how to put a flash drive in a computer, open their PowerPoint file, and turn on the slideshow. And I started library school in 2004, so.
Library school is supposed to teach you how to do a
Yeah, my library school, the last course I went through, it's about 10 years ago, and we had a set of things that you figure out how to do this before you start class. And it maybe helped that the entire program was online, so if you didn't know how to do it, it was going to be a problem.
I want to put in a plug for institutional history, and by I mean the institution of the CALI conference as the institution. So if you're new, meet new people and people who've been around a while, and if you're one of the people who've been around a while, meet people new and make new friends.
I think there's a great Girl Scout camp song about that.
Yes.
Yes.
I could sing it if you'd like, but I won't since it's being recorded.
Yes,
Even though I was never a Girl Scout.
Well, with Richard Leiters and my AALL oral history project, there should probably be a CALI one, although I'm sure the CALI conference stories could be a lot more troublesome. Did I see a hand over on that side? Okay.
I don't know that this is the place for this, but I'm just kind of curious. It seemed to me, unless I heard wrong in the last session I was in, that they were talking about things like using case management and time management things on the cloud. And I'm just wondering if CALI has had any thoughts about, do we encourage that sort of thing since we're sending people out to practice? Because I know at least one Supreme Court justice that doesn't think that's a really good idea.
I think that's a proper subject of discussion at courses that are where they're teaching students to consider the use of legal technology, and it's a proper topic of discussion in any clinic or other law school setting that, or for that matter, firm setting that is considering using cloud products for real life cases. I mean, I don't know that there's a yes or no answer, but it is something that the people involved need to be informed of the risks and weigh the pros and cons before making their decision.
The other thing that strikes me is we just got migrated with our email so that we are now, our email is all out on the cloud. And I'm looking at this and thinking maybe I'm not seeing something here, or maybe I'm seeing things that aren't there, but is that really safe for a law school to have all of that information out on the cloud?
Yes.
So there was actually a conversation at the last Unconference about that. It was another, might have been someone, a colleague of yours, their school switched over to Gmail, but the clinic students had to switch, they have to have their own special email because talking with clients, they didn't feel comfortable using Gmail for that.
Yeah. I've always had concerns about, and will continue to have concerns about, certain outsourced applications, mostly with regard to whether something like NSA activity and other is going to happen without your knowledge. Although, once you send it, these days, at least technologically speaking, there's a good chance it's being intercepted. Whether or not, in fact, the government is intercepting it, I certainly don't know. But the technology exists. But what worries me and has always worried me is if someone shows up to Google or Microsoft with a government security letter, I'm never going to know if they pulled my information on that. Whereas if I'm the person running the email system, they got to come to me first.
I'm of mixed feelings on this. I personally use the cloud for a lot of things. Not our law school, but our parent institution has put its students out on Gmail. But we're not putting our faculty out on Gmail. We're keeping them internally on our own mail servers. And the stated reason that they had used was they can't be sure that the data is stored on servers within the United States when it goes out to something like that. So there are some concerns that arise there, and that's without even hitting our medical school and dealing with any HIPAA issues and things like that. So I think there's a lot of value to it, but I think that that's also something that when you go back and take a look at some of those services, they're going to be adjusting to some of those requirements and hopefully making offerings along those lines. I know that for some of the governmental things, Google has made guarantees on their cloud offering that if you sign up through a particular channel, your data will stay within the confines of the United States and not be transmitted on a server outside the United States.
Does anyone know about Microsoft? I think we just got translated over to BPAWS from Microsoft.
We were looking at one of the Microsoft offerings, and their guarantee on keeping data within the United States was stronger than Google's, and that was an easier to access option with theirs. We were taking a look, I think, at one of their Live 365 offerings, where we could move all of our students in, and then they all get Office and everything else as part of the package.
Can I make a shameless plug, for Law School Tech Talk? It's our podcast we do. We actually did episode 5 with Nikki Black. It was on cloud computing. We talk about that a lot, so have a look at that one.
Yeah, that's an email, or I should be on Technoids, but some of that I think doesn't get passed through to those of us who would watch.
Who's your CALI rep at your school?
I don't know, but I don't think it's me.
If you would like to be involved and you feel like helping us out and passing things along that we send along, and if you keep up with CALI on our blog and our Facebook and stuff, a lot of that information, we hope that the reps at your school, or even you could do it, as you're a librarian, right? On your law school blog or whatever, just pass along information about us. It helps us out a lot. So.
Okay, I need to be more proactive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other topics?
I'll go back to a question I had earlier. How do you guys think we can get more new people here and involved in the community and involved in the CALI conference? Do you guys have any ideas?
A referral program, 10% off your fee if you bring someone with you for the first time.
I was actually just thinking about that, like adopt a newbie or something like that. If you bring someone new in, you get $100 off or something like that.
Or agree.
I know Connell, they have, or AAL, they have Connell, which is kind of a full day, the day before AAL starts for newer librarians, kind of you partner up and just you learn, kind of get indoctrinated just a little bit. So I don't know, full day wouldn't be, but maybe like that first evening, Wednesday night, do a party for new attendees
or a informal mentoring program like AAL does. Pair up a newbie who may be from some small school, maybe the only person from the school here, with somebody who's gone to 5+ conferences, and squirrel them around and introduce them to people.
There's a lot of people I've met who are like, I'm the only person here from my school. So yeah.
I wonder if some of that, though, is a certain degree of shifting of IT responsibility away from the law school. I mean, I know there are people who come here who are not necessarily law school employees or even housed in the law school, but I think most of us are. And over the years, perhaps the proportion of those who have that exclusive a tie to the law school, in many places at least, has shrunk. We always have to keep one home, at least.
For me, I think the reason we only send one librarian, and this is just my opinion, is that it's so close to AAL. Sending them back to back can be a little more difficult.
Any other topics? Seeing everyone looking into the laptops. Let's talk about banning laptops in the classroom. That'll wake everyone up. No, I'm kidding. I really don't want to talk about that.
Do people push the videos of the conference sessions to your folks back home if you see something good and say this is worth sitting down and watching streaming for an hour at your time? I don't think I've done that, but a few things I might want to do that.
I go back and send them kind of a short blurb on each one of the sessions because I'm figuring they're not going to read more than about 4 lines, and then give them a link explaining what they might see when they get there.
We've just instituted a policy where we have the librarians come in for a brown bag session after one of us has gone to a conference. We tell them what we learned and things like that, and that will be the opportunity to say, if you want to know more about this, or hey, there was a faculty services session you may want to go look at, that we could do that.
I think one of the things that can help along those lines, we've been moving to instituting dual monitor setups for more and more of the people within our school. I'm a personal believer that my active working memory is limited by how much screen space I have. So the more screen space I have, the more productive I can be. But one of the things that I've found is that if I've got an incredible backlog of like Google tech videos that I want to watch, I can put one of those on another monitor and give it 25% attention while I'm taking care of another task. And can pause that when I need to, when someone walks in, and work with it. But it gives me exposure as I'm doing something else along the lines. So if you teach people the skill of tearing off a window from your browser with that in it, and starting at the beginning of the day, and you may only get it may take you all day to get through an hour cast, but that's one way to work that into your day so you can catch some of the other sessions.
Any other topics? End of conference, everyone's just like, yeah. Thinking about making their plane and all that stuff. Got the room for 20 more minutes, so I'll just be sitting here if anyone wants to.
I have a random question.
Yeah.
You guys talking about your videos just made me think of this. Wouldn't it be, I actually hate watching videos because you can read so much faster than you can watch a video, so it drives me crazy. I never watch news. Wouldn't it be really cool if there was something that transcribed people's videos and then had like some sort of link, so if you got to an area where something would be easier to watch, you could just click on the link and be taken exactly to that point in the video? Does that exist?
Yeah.
When you upload to YouTube, it tries to make that for closed captioning. But it's not that accurate from what I've seen, at least. But it might just be an issue with the audio involved when you're at a conference.
The voice recognition in Camtasia, I just noticed it's in a new version. I'd like to see how good it looks.
We use MediaSite, and we're capturing both the video of the professor presenting their material, and we're capturing their PowerPoint. And the PowerPoint detection detects when there's a change in the video that's being sent to the projector, and it sets a bookmark. And so when we present that back to the students, they get to see a scrolling list of all of the slides. And if they click any particular slide, it'll jump the video directly to that where the professor begins speaking about that slide. So that's close to what you're talking about. And then Google does offer the transcription service for things that are uploaded there, but they don't have the tie-in and time-stamping set up the same way, I believe.
Is that all locked behind like a Twin or a Blackboard, or is that open on the, like where do students access that?
We have an internal site where professors can limit access based on who's in their class. So when the student logs into the intranet, they can go to a listing of videos that they have. We also have some videos that are publicly available, and we're switching from our previous video streaming technology over into a MediaSite streaming system. And so we'll be using more of that. We integrated that with our new classroom thing so that a professor can walk in using an automatic key card into the classroom and either start the recording with a button or have it set like these rooms are set to start recording at class time and work through. We're hoping to get more faculty adoption, which is what you were talking about, of this as we move forward.
Where do you work, if you don't mind me asking?
University of California at Davis, but that, I'm not the same person that was talking about anything earlier.
You mentioned Google's service. It's not very good if it's the same one that's hooked up to Google Voice. The voicemails that come through where they automatically transcribe them for you, yeah, they make some great jokes because they don't work quite right.
The quality is definitely dependent on how good the audio setup is. I have seen sometimes when it's done excellent, and then, like you say, there are some times when it's rather humorous.
Any other topics? preview of your closing plenary? Sneak preview so people get real excited about going?
Basically, we can hold a raffle. And then I have to thank everybody all over again. Where everybody just wants to be thank.
What about you, Sarah? Do you have any thoughts on joining CALI that you'd like to
I'm
share?
so glad people know now and I can talk about it. I'm very, very excited, yeah.
I was going to wait for the plenary to tell them that it was all a hoax.
Most extensive practical joke ever. It's really cool. They got the VHR involved, those fake forms. That was very... Yeah. I've already been asked that question, like, so are you going to really start burning bridges the next month? It's like, no. It's calling it my librarian victory lap, though, for the next... The official title is Director of Content Development, but Deb 2.0 is the easiest way of explaining it to people.
Deb, you're not leaving, are you?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm dying in my chair in a long number of years.
But right after Richard Nash said, every time I hear the word content, I go for my revolver. After a tweet apologizing for her job title.
Did anyone have any side outings that they especially enjoyed in town?
Yeah, Ken, tell us about your tequila shot. I started my morning. Guess what, Sarah? I had my first tequila shot.
My wife said, I hate tequila. And I told her, and I said, well, I shot it, so I just tasted it. So it got much better.
Maybe that would increase enrollment here if we could get karaoke with Ken going at CaliCon.
I leave that in all of your capable hands.
Funny you should say that. We went out last night and it was a whole bunch of 80, 90-year-old women at the Spy Bar. It was like a clown car. They just kept coming out of this room. And
Plus 2 bachelorette parties. So.
Oh, yeah.
I grew up here, and I did a nice walk through downtown Milwaukee yesterday, from not quite down to the lake, but beyond the river and back. And I could have sponsored a tour. It would have been the Paul Birch, well, this used to be tour.
The art museum is real nice here, down the river. Beautiful building, pretty good collection. I didn't go in the big Chinese exhibit that they've got going on, but toured the main part of it.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of funny because you apparently had to have a secret password to get in, and Meg went in ahead of me, and I saw her listen, whisper to the lady, and she got sent over to the court. I was like, tell me what the password is, but she didn't know it either. But then we had to do the chicken dance, and I was with Elizabeth Farrell. When you're in Cincinnati, which we were both from, the chicken dance, people just spontaneously break out into it. I mean, the world record every year at Oktoberfest, they have the world, the world largest chicken dance gathering. So we were just like, we got this, no problem. So we only had to do it 4 times, and we could have gone on for a while. But they're like, please go into the bar. But it was really neat to see the different, rooms and all the decoration, but it was very, very crowded, so we couldn't even find a table to get service. So then it was fine. Well, we'll eat. We just want dessert and maybe like a drink or something. And they said, well, that's too late for that. Find a cocktail waitress. And well, the problem is we can't find a cocktail waitress. That's why we were going to go to the restaurant part. But so we just left and came back to the hotel and had cheesecake there.
Yeah, it was packed. I did go to the Spy safe house Wednesday afternoon when there was hardly anyone there. There's no password. There's no girl out there. You just have to know which secret lever to push to make that door open. Oh. I was standing there for about 2 minutes trying to see if there was a hidden camera. Some lady came in behind me and said, "You got to push that lever over there," and it makes the secret door open.
Yeah, that was the best part. They make you do something ridiculous to gain admission into the bar, and then once you get in there, you realize that there's cameras and everyone in the bar is watching you do the chicken dance or hula hoop or all that fun stuff.
That was extra funny for us because we thought we were the first ones in, and we were wandering around a little bit, and then we came across another group, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we saw the whole thing."
Yeah. But the group behind us had to fight imaginary ninjas, so I think we lucked out with just the chicken dance. That. Well, actually, because when we saw the other group come in, we had the phones that recorded their monitors, so with the fake ninja fighting.
We did discover Wicked Hop's Bloody Mary. That was quite unique. It's a Bloody Mary that contains a Slim Jim, a stuffed mushroom, green olive, gherkin. That's all on the nice little toothpick. But it also had cheese on top.
Of course. That was kind of remarkable, but considering this is beer capital of the world or whatever. I've had kind of a mellow conference. I went to bed at 7:30 the first night. I was so tired.
John and I were in the gym. We're good.
I'll put a plug in for the Paps Mansion. You can't have a beer there, or there's no bar, but if you like historic house tours, it's kind of neat because they're in the process of renovating and restoring it, so you can see that the ground floor is mostly fully restored and it's gorgeous, and the upper floors, they're working on it, and they're scraping away the paint that the Archbishop painted over all of the beautiful ceiling work and trying to figure out what the colors are. And it was neat to see something in progress like that.
Well, I had a question. Did we think about everybody turning in their book game cards and compiling a bestseller list of CALI's most recommended books this year? Have we thought about doing that?
Yeah. That was the plan all along.
Give them to Sarah.
Yeah, Director of Content.
Yeah, we thought of doing the whole thing electronically where you don't have to write things down, but you go to like a website or something, but it just seemed to complicate the whole process.
Write an app next year.
Get Elmer on that.
Not everybody's got a smartphone. Does everybody have a smartphone? Yes. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, we thought about a lot of things for the social game. It went through a lot of iterations, but this is eventually what we settled on. So.
Did anyone from Marquette get those birds out of the ceiling?
Yeah.
Okay.
They got the bird.
Snagged them right away.
Did you actually see anyone carrying any birds around so that they would be available to be handed off? Those seem to disappear.
I think those went in the bags and never came out again.
So you guys are probably the ones to ask. I'm getting a new phone. Looking at the HTC Evo.
If you can find Emily from Georgia State, she has the Evo. Looks really cool. It's got a little kickstand built in. I have the HTC Inspire because I'm on AT&T, and I like it.
Yeah, the battery sucks.
Battery sucks, but it has a bigger screen than anybody else's phone. So.
And apparently you should immediately get a case because the camera screen scratches up very easily.
We just assume that you can't afford it if you even ask, which phone should I get?
Well, that'll be a returning customer next year coming to the conference.
And the religious debate begins.
So I didn't love my HTC at first, and I thought about going back to the iPhone, but it's going to be so long until the next, it's going to be so long until the next new iPhone that, I don't know, it depends how long you want to wait. So what phone was that?
Oh, it was an
Oh, amazing. Washing machine doesn't work though. Doesn't get good signal after.
Wow.
I've heard that.
My colleague has a phone that actually has a feature, it makes phone calls. And that's what it does. He likes vision.
Okay, here's a question. How do you get your dean to believe that an iPad is more than a toy?
Give him Angry Birds.
I have seen so much use for iPads here this time, I'm convinced it's going in my budget whether he likes it or not. I'm going to find a way.
E-books.
My dean, we introduced him to Evernote, and he loves it, but you need to introduce him to the apps that will sync to Evernote. Like Fast Finger is a handwriting app where it won't bother him if he puts his wrist on it because you have to write in the box. And then it syncs over to Evernote and OCRs itself. So tools like that tend to make them more interested where they can all integrate it and access it from multiple different multiple locations.
We've started introducing it as a tool. We have several different integrations, and we've written some apps. We have a sound system in our courtyard, and we can walk out there with either an iPhone or an iPad and control whether or not we're using local microphones or whether we're streaming sound out to the courtyard. We use that same app in our classrooms for IT. While we have in-place control panels like are at the podium there, we can also go ahead and do control from that. So introducing some other functionality to show them that it's a tool and it's useful along those lines.
One thing I was wondering, kind of almost even going along with what Brian was saying earlier, having a gadget garage for faculty to just kind of hold an iPad more, so have some more time with it than you would at just standing at the Genius Bar at the Apple Store. Just because I had some friends who I think it was he worked at Georgia State. They kind of rotated it. Faculty or librarians were given an iPad for the semester, and they were allowed to download whatever they wanted on it and use it. I mean, use it for personal use, use it for work. But then at the end of the semester, it was wiped and it was given to another librarian, so then they could get some experience with it. So something like that, more time than just the in-store demo, but just actually work with it and just try it out, and then see the actual possibilities of it.
Well, I've already decided I'm going to show him LawStack. That might pique his interest a little bit.
Two more minutes? Anything?
He came to our law school. He's a fantastic speaker. If you ever get a chance to meet him. Ben Stein.